Welcome to La Vida Refreshed, where I'm discussing how I ditched being broken and became emboldened to step out on faith, course correct, and stop accepting a life less than I desired. I am creating memories that I want to hold on to. It takes strength, it takes courage, it takes faith to do something like that, especially starting from where I was starting, which is ground zero. I hope you will hear or see something that encourages you to take your own big actions to create the life that you want to see. All right, you ready? Here we go. Hi! Y'all, okay. It is sad how long I have procrastinated today to start videoing and filming for this series that I told you guys I'm going to do. And honestly, I didn't even just start I didn't start the video, but it has a wave or hand response. And so it started. So I'm like, okay, here we go. We're starting. So yeah, I really don't even want to talk about this, but I feel like I'm being prompted in my spirit to share. And I knew I would be. I knew this day was coming. But I am just such a person that will fade to the back and let it blow over and then like resurface like nothing ever happened. Because I don't like confrontation. And not to say that this is confrontational, but it is. I'm going to be discussing things that are uncomfortable. I'm going to be discussing things that involved friction within my life and within my marriage and just different dynamics of situations that got me to where I am. So I hope you are ready for the ride. I think it's going to be informational, and it's not just to get you all up in my business and nosy and telling y'all everything that happened, but I have things and really good points that I have actually learned and experienced that I've never experienced before. So here we go. The first thing I want to start off with is, well, let me tell y'all, something very impactful is going to happen with this, because the amount of interference I got right before starting this was really interesting. And when I say interference, I mean like spiritual interference. So whenever I am a firm believer, if you have not done any studies, or if you have not delved into the spiritual side of things, I'm going to be sharing some things that I've experienced. And so I definitely believe that there is a such thing as light and darkness. And light is our God, and darkness is devils and demons, okay? Witches and warlocks. So, anywho, a few days before this, one reason why I was kind of apprehensive about starting this series is because I really just don't like I don't mind scrolling every now and then on social media, but it takes forever for me to upload a post, and creating content seems very laborious for me. And so I don't need to be an influencer. I'm not trying to, be well known, whatever. I've never had to be the center of attention. I'm not shy. I don't mind speaking. I don't mind getting attention, but I don't need that. So my thought process is not, oh, let me be a content creator. Let me, get all these likes. I don't care. Like, I really post so that my friends and family can, see, and we can be involved in each other's lives. But anywho, so long story short, one of my main concerns about starting this series is because it seems like it's going to be very laborious for me. And I have a lot of things to do. I'm trying to rebuild my life. I'm trying to make a dollar. I am fresh into education, so I am almost done with my certification, and that, takes up a little bit. So all of these little different tasks that I have to do just take up a lot of time, and creating content is not one of them that I'm just excited about. So one of the attacks that I feel was happening right before me launching this is it took me forever to upload like the last 3 posts that I made. One of them took like 6 hours, and I was like, I refuse. Like, I'm not giving up. The photos that I kept uploading, matter of fact, it was for my son's birthday. The photos that I kept uploading from Google Photos just kept getting deleted from my video. And so I was like, I'm gonna see it through. I'm gonna see it through. You're not about to win. If it's one thing about me, I am not gonna give up when my mind is really set on something. So that happened. And then like 2 other posts that I made, it took me like 3 attempts to get it up there, and it wouldn't post, and the audio was off or something like that. And so I was like, okay, I feel like there's some demonic interference that's trying to discourage me from starting this series, because this is the one thing that I want to avoid. I do not want this to take a lot of time. And so that happened. And then last thing that happened was the night before I dropped my promotional video, the first one, I had 4 to 5 dreams in that one night. And there are things, demons, that can visit you in your dreams and try to make you do things that will form a covenant. And whatever you freed yourself from, it wants to get you back bound. And so one thing that I know to look for is eating and drinking something that somebody familiar that is giving you in your sleep. Or even being physical. That is how spirit spouses get formed, is when, you are doing something physical, having relations in your dreams with someone. Okay? But that is a familiar spirit. I'll talk more about my father passing away in a future video, but my father passed away years ago, and he has not visited me one time in my dreams. And through my learning, I learned that when familiar faces do visit you in your dreams like that it's really a familiar spirit, and it's not them. It's not your actual relative or friend. And so, like I said, my father has not visited me at all, and he has been gone for at least 10 years. And so he was the face that I saw in my dream. And so I'm like, man, these spirits are pulling out all the tricks. Like, my father, you're going to use my father, like, in this moment. So I'm telling you, something big, like, is going to come of this. I hope that somebody is touched. I hope that somebody is freed and blessed by my testimony and what I have to say and share. And so let's back up into the dream. In the dream, my dad told me that he's not going to rush me. He said, I'm not going to rush you. I was in the bathroom getting dressed. He said, I'm not going to rush you right now, but I do need to know when you're coming for this other event. And he said, so when do you think you're going to be ready? And then he has 2 little whiskey glasses in his hands, and he sets it down on the table or on the vanity to give me one and for him to take one. And, me and my dad, we used to drink together. And so the dream ended, and I never did drink. And the first thought that came to my mind was, wait a minute. No, I take that back. The thought that came to my mind was, man, I haven't talked to my dad in a long time. I need to call him. I need to reach out to him. And so that stood out to me as soon as I woke up. I woke up not too long after that. As soon as I woke up, I thought to myself, I can't call him. He's not here. He's no longer alive. And so I immediately started praying and, started talking to God about that situation, because we are not, like the living are not supposed to have any communication with the dead. And so if you do, that is necromancy. And, I'm still learning about all of the dynamics of the spirit world. But I do know that some people like to rely on talking to their ancestors. I just don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I don't. The Holy Spirit is my help, my comforter, my guide. And I'm not really interested in talking to my ancestors. All right. So anyways, that happened. And that brings me to now. I am a little nervous, and forgive me if I jump around. It's a lot that has happened over the past 15 plus years. I was married legally for 15 years. The divorce was finalized on November 4th of 2025. So I'm like 5 months removed from being legally married. But I have been going through this process of getting myself prepared for divorce since 2022, like mid 2022 to 2023. That's when it started. And I will explain in the coming videos when I finally knew, like, okay, there's no turning back. So, but I want to give you some background information, and I want to guide this storytelling on how I processed what it is I was going through, and how I processed, hard things. And the reason why I thought it was important, or why I feel like God wants me to put this out there, is because so many people, the people who knew about what was going on with me, they would always come up to me and say, how are you still smiling? Like, you seem fine. Like, I would never know. And so I want to speak to that. I have a few points that I want to make when it comes to being resilient, handling adversity, and being able to continue taking steps forward while you're in the midst of something really hard. And also to encourage you to make the big step, take the big leap that's going to shift what's happening in your life. Don't be comfortable being unhappy. I don't think, time is ticking. Time passes by really quickly. 15 years pass by really quickly. I feel like my children have grown up really fast. My oldest is he's coming to high school next year. My baby is already turning 3. Time is not waiting for anybody. So listen, we can't just be sitting around letting time pass and us not take the big steps to do the things that our hearts really desire. So that is my goal, to share and to encourage you through my testimony and through understanding how I process things. Now, granted, I'm not perfect. I don't know it all. I'm just sharing what I did. Okay. All right. So first, let me introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Brittany, and I used to have my handle. My handle used to be Cricket Nicole 321. That was my nickname growing up. and I recently changed it to La Vida Refreshed. La Vida means life, and of course, refreshed is English, so refreshed life is what that means. And that is what I'm going for. And the question is, why? How? How did I get here? How did I become a single mom of 5 children? And I used to be a stay-at-home mom, and now I'm like working, trying to, rebuild my life, rebrand myself. And so I want to start out with telling you where I'm from and what my upbringing was like. So I am from Galveston County, from a small city called Lamarck, and my parents were born and raised in that same city. So they never moved out of that city, and we were raised there. And because of that, we knew a great amount of the community. We were very active in church. We were very active in the community, period, and active with our school and all the things. It was great to me. I thought that living in a small community really helped keep us, I don't want to say in line. So a lot of times people might think that growing up in a small community is annoying because people are always in your busy and it's gossip and it's messy and things like that. But I really didn't see it as a negative thing at all. I appreciated being able to go into the store and see somebody that I knew. And even now, when I go back home and visit, my kids are like, oh my gosh, you always know somebody, because when we go to the store, like it never fails. I'm like, hey, I'm laughing, hugging, saying, oh my gosh, it's been so long. And I just love that. I love that small community feel. I think that it helped always knowing that somebody's eyes were on us. Because it takes a village to raise a child. Now, me, my sister, and my brother, none of us were really just out there doing things that we weren't supposed to do like that. Now, we had our fair share of, being a kid and doing things that we shouldn't do, but it wasn't, we didn't cause a whole lot of problems. We were pretty stand-up children. And so, I appreciated having people that could look out for me, knowing that I have a large backing, a large support system where if I needed something, because somebody knows my parents, because they know my family and what we're about, they're willing to lend a hand. It's just that favor that was there and that support system. And me having that large amount of support, I think contributed in large to the confidence that I have and that I had before, all the things, happened with my relationship. And so I'm telling you that because I think that we have gotten away from community like that. I think people are in their own bubbles and doing their own things, and everybody's so spread out, and we're traveling and all these things. But I think we need to get back to making the community seem smaller, knowing who your neighbors are. My mom, the way they grew up on their street, all the neighbors knew each other. All the kids, they grew up like family. And so those are my aunts and uncles, sort of say. And I think it's really important for us to get back to building community so that we can have children that are very confident and very sure of themselves. But with that, the community needs to have the same values. We need to have the same moral system and the same moral code. You can't send your kid to somebody's house that has a different opinion of how things are supposed to be done within the home. If you are not teaching your children to be respectful towards adults, then my child can't come to your house. And so just finding like-minded people that can be around your children, because you can't do it by yourself. So anyways, I had that contributed a great deal to my confidence, and I appreciate that. Growing up in a small community and with most of my relatives fairly close, also, gave me this love for family and this appreciation for gatherings and things like that. We lived near the Lamarck, Texas City area. My other family on my dad's side lives in South Louisiana, Lafayette, Lake Charles area. And then my mom's side is North Louisiana. So we would venture to Louisiana often, and we were always supporting each other, always just celebrating somebody's birthday, somebody's anniversary, somebody's wedding, whatever. Everybody supported each other. And so I come from a strong support system. I remember this one time, there was a party at my aunt and uncle's house. They lived together at that time. And my ex was actually there as well. And this was such a monumental party. Every time somebody came through the door, the family and everybody that was already in the party would like look at the door and be like, ah! And we like, yeah. And it's like one time 40 people came through the door at one time. And it's like the house was lit. It was so much fun. But that's the energy that I grew up with. So even now, like I try to carry that on with my children. When I come home, my kids run to me. They're like, Mommy. And then when they come home, if they get off the bus, they come home, I'm like, hey, Tristan in the house. So we celebrate each other's presence whenever we come home. I make sure that my children, you have to make it known when you're leaving. Like, it's common courtesy. Like, let's enjoy the people that we are around. This is the type of environment that I try to foster in the home. And so, just loving the people that you are coexisting with, that is the goal. All right, so I've set the tone for my expectation of the family. Supportive, loving, family-oriented, community-oriented. We're looking out for one another, and all of the things. This is what I got from my family. This is what I got from my community. And this is the expectation. So that's important, because when you are now in an environment where it feels like that doesn't exist, now things start to feel strained. When reflecting on my childhood and my upbringing and, adolescent years, I tried to think back to figure out, who was I? What about me back then played a part in who I am today? And so thinking back, I realized that I've always been somebody that put other people before me. I'm always very aware and concerned about how other people feel and how they experience me. And when I say experience me, I just mean in a capacity like I don't want to be offensive towards anyone. I don't want to be the cause of somebody being uncomfortable. And if I notice something about them that, if I notice that someone is sad or alone, then I feel compelled to go and do something about it. Okay. So, for example, I told you guys already that I don't have to be the center of attention, and I don't really need, my confidence is so rock solid, not in an arrogant way, but just in a very non-needy way. I don't have to have the top position. Now, this was actually a problem because I noticed that I shied away from certain leadership roles, because I was always thinking about other people. I think that I was actually in the habit of shrinking myself so that other people could feel valid, or so that other people could feel like I wasn't infringing on their space. Even though nobody ever said anything like that, this was just something that I was always conscientious of. And I did not, I didn't want people to feel threatened by me or feel, there are stereotypes that and colorism that affected me, I think. Again, nobody ever said this, but because I'm lighter skinned with, soft textured hair and curls and stuff like that, I never wanted anybody to think I was stuck up. I never wanted anybody to think that I was better than them. So I was always like downplaying myself and shrinking, just to ensure that didn't happen. And it was also a little bit of people pleasing. So that in my time of reflection, I realized that about myself. Okay. Now, although things sound really great right now, and it seems like I had this amazing childhood, which I did have a really good childhood, but it wasn't perfect. There were some things that I liked and some things that I didn't like. And so I have always been the type of person to take notice of what I didn't like and to just not interject that into who I was and what I wanted. So one thing I noticed is that the heartbreak of teenage girls. And so I was very mindful of that. And as a defense mechanism, I really didn't let myself get close to any relationship. And I didn't have many, honestly. I had one that was like 3 years, and then one that I did not have many at all. But I did not allow myself to fall fully, like actually at all. And so it was kind of fraudulent. I was kind of just going through the motions. I honestly was a person that was just trying to have fun. Like, hey, I'm here. We're in high school. We're young. And I took on the dude mentality, actually. So I don't really think that I allowed myself to fall for a boyfriend back then, because I just wasn't. Like, I told one person, I love you, and that was my long-term relationship. And once I ended things with him, I promised myself that I would not tell another person I love you unless I absolutely meant it, because that's something very serious, and you should not play with people's, emotions like that. I wasn't playing with his emotions. Like, I cared about him, but not in a deeply rooted way. I did not want to fall hard for someone because I did not want to get my heart broken. I also took notice of multiple relationships that I had been exposed to where there were people that were not really happy in their relationship, and they were just going through the motions. And I always told myself that was not something that I would want to endure. Like, that seemed like a miserable lifestyle. So for me, the ideal marriage is somebody that you can have fun with. And that was like my only criteria. Like, the stupidest thing on earth. But it's not stupid, because I still believe that you need to have fun. But for that to be your only criteria, like, come on. Nobody had talked to me about relationships, though. Nobody had talked to me about what to look for. Nobody had talked to me. I think because I was intelligent and fairly responsible, that people just assumed I would know what to do, or assumed that I would acquire the knowledge. But, I spoke to my mom about this as well. I was like, nobody ever told me, instructed me on how to make sure that I'm making the right choice. And so she told me that, nobody told her either. So here's where we have to start to think, okay, there's a pattern here. We need to break this. I'm not continuing this on with my daughter. And so that is always how I've been. I've observed and made a mental note, and told myself what I would and wouldn't do in my adulthood. Or what I thought I would and wouldn't do in my adulthood. So I will even say that nobody talked to me about the birds and the bees. You have that class in 5th grade, but by that time I think I already knew what the deal was. And when I tell you I have absolutely no clue how I knew, I don't know where I got that information from. And so that's actually pretty alarming. It's like, who told me that? How did I know? But I knew that it was a thing, and I had it in my mind that I did not want to give my innocence away to somebody that I was head over heels in love with, because then that gave them the advantage and the leverage to potentially break my heart. So that is useful information. So we'll just put a pause right there. So what I've talked about so far has shaped my idea and my ideology of what family should be, what community should be, what friends should be. And now I want to tell you about my dad. When I talk about this man and when I think about him, I always smile, because when I tell you that is one of the best humans I have met, just all around good dude. Again, he had his individual flaws. He had his personal struggles. But when it comes to fatherhood, when it comes to, I can't really speak on his, when it comes to fatherhood, hands down, super blessed to have had him be my father. And I want to share with you just how much he impacted me in the ways that might seem odd, but was very influential for me. So he was somebody who was not judgmental at all. He could hang around anybody. And I feel like I took on that trait because I really enjoy people. I enjoy hanging around whoever, you know. You can drop me in the hood, I'll be all right. You can put me with the elites, I'll be all right. You know, like I chill, okay? And our relationship was so special. I feel like that was my twin. Like if he was alive right now, I'd be like, hey, twin. And he'd be like, hey, twin. Like we look alike. I look like him. I believe that I have most of his character traits, personality wise. And oh my goodness, like I really wish my children had more time with him. I really do. Great father. He was the father who brought the ice to every event. He was the cooler, you know, he had the big cooler with the ice, and he would bring pickles for our field trips and things like that. Well, no, we had one field trip where we went to Florida or something like that. And he had like this 5-gallon tub of pickles. And he was our softball coach. And just, oh my goodness, when I tell you involved, he worked overtime. He worked for Houston Lightning and Power, and then it turned into AT&T. And he worked overtime, and then he came home and he played with us. And on the weekends, we would travel to Louisiana and we would go hang with family. And it was just, oh my goodness, like he was a vibe. And so, I looked up to him in so many ways. And one thing that I really took from him is authenticity. Being who you are, regardless of who you are around. So anybody in our surrounding area and family knew my dad was always going to have this styrofoam cup of wild turkey. If you see this wild turkey up here, that's his bottle of wild turkey. And everybody knew that he was going to have that cup. And it didn't matter who he was around. He had his cup. He was laughing. He was joking. He was having fun. He was cool. He wasn't going to not be him just because so somebody's status was showing up. No, he's going to be him. You know, my grandparents on my mom's side, they didn't drink or anything like that. My mom has never drank, but here go my daddy rolling up in the house with his cup, right? He's not going to not be him just because he's in their environment. Now, he's not disrespectful or anything, but he's going to be him. And that is what I appreciated. I just observed and saw his authenticity. I saw that he was going to be him. And so, baby, you can't tell me to not be me. You can't tell me to not be me. And so I'll put a pin right there because that's important too. Okay. I will say, when I say you can't tell me to not be me, I'm not talking about constructive criticism where it's a character flaw and I need to change. I'm talking about the heart of who I am, the core of who I am. If I'm not hurting anybody, if it's not something destructive, like who God made me. Okay. I'm not talking about destructive things that I need to change and constructive criticism. I'm talking about who I am to my core, who God made me to be. And I just took that from his unapologetic way of being authentic with his cup. Okay. Take the message for what it is and not the actual example. All right. So let's put a pin right there. Another lesson that I learned from him is that it's okay to be human. It's okay to make mistakes. My daddy never made us feel less than whenever we made a mistake. Sure, he was disappointed. And no, he did not advocate for being stupid. But like I said, we were pretty straight up and down children. We really didn't do a whole lot. But when we did do something, he was like, I was young once. Don't worry about it. You know, if I got to bail you out of jail, I'm going to do that. Right. And it's just like, gosh, just he made you feel like being human was okay. There was absolutely no condemnation. So again, even though you could feel his disappointment when you messed up, you never felt unloved, ever. So my daddy's heart was huge and his impact was massive. And you could see that at his funeral. The church was packed and the church it's a decent size. And so you had family from Louisiana that came down and everybody was just so heartbroken because such a good person had left. And so, you know, my parents, both of them, were both very visible to our friends and they were extremely involved and extremely important. So a saying that my dad would always say is no guts, no glory, no nuts, no story. So he encouraged us to be bold and to be brave and to take chances and to be, live a little bit. Like, what are you going to have to tell your grandchildren if you don't do something like silly every now and then? And, you know, I say silly loosely, but I mean, really, if you don't take risks, if you don't take chances, what life are you living? You're living a very small life and you could be doing so much more if you just took a chance on something. So that no guts, no glory, no nuts, no story, that is encouraging us to not be timid. A life well lived is one where you have a little dirt on your hands. I think that's another saying. You don't want to go to the grave with clean hands. You want to go to the grave with dirt on your hands. Like you've done something, you've put in good work. And so that's just one of those core fundamental lessons that I got from him as well. I'm pretty sure that when I went to study abroad in Argentina while I was in college, I'm sure my dad found great joy in that because he loved to travel. But that's something that he never really got to do. And so I think he was sort of living vicariously through me. And his support just stretched so far. I got sick while I was in Argentina and it was pretty bad. Like they was saying the word salmonella and I'm like, oh God, salmonella, I'm going to die. And so my mom started, I know she was like panicking, internally and externally over there, but I couldn't see it because I was in Argentina. And so she was like, baby girl, do you want to come home? And I was like, yeah, I think I should come home. And so they immediately booked me a flight to come home. I hadn't eaten in like 8 days, and I had it was coming out of both ends. It was bad. And so, but the thing about it is I had a connecting flight from Argentina to Miami, and then I had to go to Miami, from Miami to Houston. And my dad got on a flight, flew to Miami, stayed in the airport just so that he could meet up with me and fly back with me from Miami to Houston. And when I tell you, when I saw him, I melted in his arms. That is what safety is. That is what protection is. That is what it means to inconvenience yourself for the benefit of somebody else, for your child. That is what love is. So many nuggets I got from that expression of him meeting me there. And I know it might seem small to some people, but it's not enough people that inconvenience themselves for someone else's benefit. Like, you get no gain from this. I mean, of course, I'm his daughter, and he wanted to see me safe, but I was on a plane already. I was in the United States. I could have made it there safely, but no. And I'm sure it was some nudging from my mom for him to go, because she doesn't fly. But my gosh, the safety I felt, I immediately started crying. And when I melted in his arms, I immediately felt better. Physically, I felt physically better. So I want you to understand the importance of safety and security and love. Giving your body a physical response. It's so important for us to connect the psychology and the physiology of the body, if that's even how you say it, I don't know. But we forget that. We forget that how you treat somebody and how they experience you can affect them physically. So I'm so grateful for that experience, and I'm grateful to be able to share that with you and to give you that information as a true testimony. And I also think it's important to note that my father never babied me. He never he showed me love, but I did not grow up thinking that I was a princess. And to each their own on how you feel about making your daughter feel like a princess. But my dad was always very real with me. And it was just so genuine and just, oh my gosh, I can't talk enough about him. I miss him so much. To the fathers out there, your role is immensely important. We need you to step up. We need you to be the person that the children need you to be. Not just somebody who's visible, but somebody who's in the fire with the children. What I've noticed with my children is I can tell them to go play, and they will not leave the room. They will either go get their toys and bring their toys by me, or they will ask me to play with them. Children don't want to just go and play. They want to play with you. They want to do things with you. And I know we're busy. I'm busy. I feel so guilty sometimes right now because I'm trying to recover. I'm trying to gain some traction and recover my footing. And I'm working so many different things to try and just build up a lifestyle for myself and my children that I don't have a lot of time. And it sucks because I used to. And so, but it is what it is. I'm down for the ride because I'm not going backwards. But, fathers, please do things with your children. If you think that just being physically present, if you think that just being the disciplinarian is okay, it's not. It's not enough. Let me tell you right now, it's not enough for you to just be the disciplinarian. It's not enough for you to just be visible. You have to do more, because that is what creates the total child. I'm not perfect, but I think my father did a very good job building confidence in me, showing me love, letting me see his authenticity, being a good person of integrity. I tell my children to this day that their grandfather, they call him Pati. Pati always said, all a man has is his name and his word. What is your reputation like? Are you a person that keeps your word? Because when you ruin your reputation, it's really hard to fix it. And when you lose people's trust, it's really hard to repair it. And, these are things that the Bible speaks of as well. A man of good rapport. And letting your yes be your yes and your nay be your nay. So anyways, I just wanted to add that nugget in there. We need you. We do love you. Like women, we do love you. And, step up. Like, let's stop being mediocre. We need you to be more than bare minimum. And I'm not trying to come for the men. Women too. There are women that need to do more than just bare minimum. Be more involved with your children. Nurture your children. Anyways, all right, let's keep it going. So back to the lessons. My dad did not treat me like a princess. He did not baby me. He was real with me. And instead of teaching me to act like a princess, he taught me how to hold my own, and he taught me how to depend on myself. One thing he always said is never put yourself in the position to depend on somebody else. And that is something I did not listen to. Even though my father's cup of wild turkey taught me authenticity, in his words, the same thing that makes you laugh will make you cry. 4 days before my 29th birthday, my father took his life. I'll see you in the next episode.